This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours. We're a music podcast that chats to artists, musicians and creatives on their songwriting craft and upcoming projects. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and welcome to episode 290. In words I can't believe I'm actually uttering, our guest today is Conor Oberst from Bright Eyes. The acclaimed indie folk band are on their way back to Australia to play their own tour dates in October, plus an appearance at Adelaide's Harvest Rock Festival. Before we get into our conversation with one of my own personal heroes, please make sure you subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever app that you use, and follow us across all of our socials. Details for all can be found within the show notes of today's episode. Our guest today is Bright Eyes. The acclaimed US indie rock project began all the way back in 1995, founded by guitarist and vocalist Conor Oberst. Starting out as a solo project and then later adding on close friends Mike Mogus and Nate Walcott, the band found success within the indie scene with their first few records like Fevers and Mirrors and Lifted. Their success took another step forward in 2005 when they released 2 studio records at the same time, titled I'm Wide Awake It's Morning and Digital Ash in a Digital Urn, respectively. It saw the band occupy the top 2 tracks on the Billboard Hottest 100, a feat that hadn't been done in a decade at that time. They've continued to release brilliant music since then, with their most recent record being 2020's Down in the Weeds Where the World Once Was. In October, the band are travelling back to Australia for their first tour in over 11 years, where they'll be playing shows all over the country, including an appearance at Adelaide's Harvest Rock Festival. In today's episode, we're speaking with frontman Conor Oberst about their memories of touring Australia previously and dancing on stage with the Flaming Lips. We discuss Conor's love of words and why they fascinate him so much. We talk about how records can achieve cult status over time, and we also try to find out whether we can expect any new Bright Eyes music soon. Tour dates and where to buy tickets to Bright Eyes' Australian tour can be found within today's show notes. And we want to say a massive thank you to Ali from House of Webb and Max from Secretly Group for their help with this episode. Here is our conversation with Conor Oberst from Bright Eyes.
While they're loading all the rifles on the range, look up at the Everest, look down in that Mariana Trench, look now as the crowd...
Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Conor Oberst from Bright Eyes. Conor, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Well, yeah, pleasure's all mine.
We're very excited down here in Australia because as of next month, yourself and the guys from Bright Eyes are coming down for a visit. You're playing Harvest Rock Festival and a smattering of your own side shows. Firstly, I guess, are you looking forward to coming back to Australia? I know it's been a while between drinks, I think about 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I was trying to remember. I know that as far as my own shows, I came and played for one of my solo albums, Reminisces, in like 2000, I want to say 16 or something, 17. We played the Opera House, and that was really cool. That was the only time I played there, so that was exciting. And then I was there one other time with, my solo stuff, but with my friends, the Fleece Brothers, were my backing band, and we played I think we actually played a couple different zoos, like the Sydney Zoo and I remember there was a lot of zoos involved, and some other shows. But as far as Bright Eyes proper, yeah, it would have been since our last record before the most recent one, which was in 2020 and obviously got sidetracked by the pandemic. But the record before that, The People's Key, was like 2011. So yeah, it's been a minute for sure.
Well, I know that there's a lot of excitement around these shows. I think previously, and it's a very different Harvest festival. We seem to have two different festivals, both named Harvest. The festival you're at previously in support of The People's Key had yourself playing with, I think, bands like The National and The Flaming Lips. Do you remember, I guess, much of that tour? There are many key memories from that previous Australian tour.
It was so fun. I remember a lot of it. Yeah, it was, TV on the radio, The National, Flaming Lips, I think Portishead. I don't know. It was a great lineup, and I have known, some of those people from different ways over the years. Like obviously, like national TV on the radio in New York, and we've played with. Well, I guess we played with all those bands at different times, but yeah, it was so much fun. It was like kind of traveling summer camp, band camp, and got to see them play a lot. I got to get into one of the big inflatable Flaming Lips suits and like walk around on stage, and so yeah, it was perfect.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. As you mentioned, there has been another record in between since when we saw you last. Down in the Weeds, Where the World Once Was, came out in 2020. Firstly, it's a little bit belated, but congratulations on that record, because that is a fantastic album.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, obviously it's like no reason for me to cry in my coffee at all. I got, so many people obviously like lost people they loved and et cetera. But yeah, it was just one of those like sort of timing, cosmic. I don't know if it's karma. I think we got pretty good karma, but anyway, yeah, it's just like we worked a long time, couple years, like making that record, and had all these plans, huge, world tour. And we were actually getting ready in March of 2020. We were about to fly to Japan to start the first shows, like in connection with that record. The record came out in August, but we were, I don't know, kind of had this like 2-year plan of touring. And then, as everyone knows, pandemic hit and everything kind of got washed away. So it did feel a little deflating, like it's almost like the record like didn't come out or something. I don't know. It just didn't. Everything was so, weird and upside down for tons of reasons. But and then I guess the next summer, 2021, we were able to play some shows with like a lot of COVID restrictions, but we had a big band to kind of represent the record. And then the last, whatever it's been, like year and a half, we've kind of continued to just play more shows. So we got there, but this is coming to see y'all down there has been on our to-do list for a long time now. So it'll be good to get back there.
Well, and as I mentioned, we are very excited. Myself personally will see you at one or two of the shows, so very looking forward to seeing it. But I'm glad to hear that the last year or so in support of the record has been good. I think, who was it? We had the lovely Christian Lee Hudson on this podcast last year, and I think he was backstage at one of the gigs as we spoke to him before going on to support, and he said that the tour was going well.
That's great. Yeah. Christian's my buddy, so that's awesome. Yeah, he did some shows with us last year, and he's amazing.
He's incredible songwriter. Just like yourself, I wanted to kind of touch on, I guess, some of the songwriting from this previous record, and I guess your history with songwriting, if that's okay, as we are a songwriting podcast.
Sure.
This most recent record, absolutely incredible. It came after, I think, a 9-year, I want to say, it wasn't a break within the band, I think just 9 years between records. And Bright Eyes was always a band that I personally thought were very, very good at distilling and, for lack of a better word, describing the reality of certain things within our own reality. And I feel that in the years since, I guess, Between People's Key and Down in the Weeds, there was a lot to write about in terms of how the world was changing and going. Was that something that I guess originally inspired you guys at that Christmas party to get the band back into the studio and write these songs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it just felt right. You're right in the sense of I think it was like slightly miscommunicated, like in the press, that we had like broken up. But the truth of it is that like it's always been, it's always been this kind of studio project with, Mike Muggus, Nate Walcott, and myself, and we stayed close friends. I mean, Michael lives literally right behind me up that hill, and that's where our studio is. So, and Nate Walcott had worked on different solo records with me, so it's not like we ever lost touch or anything. But it just felt like the right time to do it again, because a lot of people think it's sort of like splitting hairs between like what makes a Conor Oberst record versus a Bright Eyes record versus like other projects, that I'm involved with or all of us are individually involved with. But it really is like a special thing when the three of us come together and decide to make a record. It takes way longer than like when I make a solo record. It's I can do it. I can do it like in a week if I want, or I can do it in whatever. It's like, I don't want to say there's more freedom, because I feel like we're pretty free thinking, like in the Bright Eyes camp, but just with those two guys are such like kind of neurotic perfectionists, and we try to treat the band as 3 equal parts. And so just because of that dynamic, it takes us, 2 years to make a record. And so it's sort of a big commitment, if you will, when we do it. So it was really nice to return to that. And like I said, I consider both of those gentlemen to be, I guess I'm biased because they're in my band, but I do think they're both like musical geniuses, and I'm very lucky to have them, help me present my songs. So yeah.
100%. I know that recently Bright Eyes has been putting out remasters of these studio records with these beautiful companion EPs as well. What has that process been like? Because I think you've now recorded possibly up to, is it like 51 or 52 different versions of a track? Yeah,
I'm bad with math, but I can tell you that they reissued 9 albums, and so for each record, we did a 6-song EP that has 5 songs that are sort of reimagining, re-recordings of the songs from the record that it's the companion to, and then plus like one more song that's like a cover that meant something to us around the time that we were making those records. So there's 6 songs each. So here's the big question: what's 6 times 9? I don't know. Is it 54? Is it 54? Is that the answer? We're gonna have to call like a mathematician to get to the bottom of this. But,
I think we're definitely in the 50s. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of songs, No, it was fun. It was, it was it was a lot of work, but it was also, I feel like some of those songs are literally, 25 years old or whatever. So to get a chance to kind of redo or have like a second opportunity to record them again with everything that's happened to all of us in our lives and musically and otherwise, we're coming at it from a pretty different headspace than when we made the original recordings. And there's some of the songs that I feel like I kind of cringe when I listen to the original recordings, but I think that they're good songs, but it's just the sound of my voice or just production decisions we made and shit that I wouldn't do today. You know what I mean? So it was nice to just got to believe in second chances, I guess.
Well, 100%. On the other, I guess, end of the spectrum of that, was there a song that you were surprised has aged in a better way that you kind of went back and was like, fuck yeah, like we did pretty well with that?
Jewelry can say many things on your wedding day. As a wedding band, it can say, "This is a forever symbol of our forever love." As a gift to your wedding party, it can say, "Thanks for standing up there with us." Blue Nile can help you find the piece that says it all and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, there was different kind of highlights or nice moments along the way through all the different records. But I think definitely starting the most stark difference, which makes a lot of sense, I guess, is the earlier records are the most kind of starkly different than the later records, because obviously a lot of the first collection of songs it's the original recordings are borderline unlistenable, it's just insane 4-track recordings, and so just us playing them normal made them sound way different. But that was one of our goals, was just to make sure that they all kind of took on some kind of new life or had new ideas behind them. So I would say that one, the first one, and then we did one called Noise Floor, which isn't technically a proper studio album, but it was one that the label wanted to release as well, reissue the original. And so that's a collection of B-sides from all different compilations and 7 inches and things. And so some of those songs, I really barely remember writing or what the originals. So I for these ones, I went back and listened to stuff and picked songs that I thought I could sing with a straight face, So, it was cool to kind of be wow, okay, that recording is kind of rough, but I can still stand behind these lyrics and the melodies, and the general idea of it holds up. And so that's kind of why we chose the songs we chose,
100%. They are a fantastic kind of, as they are their companion EPs, they are a fantastic companion piece, which we'll put in the links of this podcast for people to purchase. I would love to kind of, if I'm allowed to, it is obviously well documented that you were quite young when you started Bright Eyes, that you've been a songwriter since I think the age of 13. I won't go too much into that because it has been well documented in the last 20 years. But I was wondering if you could just touch on, I guess, what originally, or if you remember what originally drew you to songwriting, what that kind of catalyst was that got you interested in songs.
Yeah, well, I was very lucky. My father is a musician. When I was a kid, he had a band. I mean, they were basically like a cover band that would play weddings and parties and stuff for like extra money, you know. So like it was like a kind of his like side like part-time job. He was kind of the utility guy, so he played like keyboards and some guitar and sang harmony and played saxophone, and like so there was always musical equipment and things around my house, instruments. And then my oldest brother Matty also played in bands, and so I think between the two of them, when I was about 10 years old, they started I was interested in it, and so they started showing me just chords, you know, here's an E chord here, you know. I remember E minor was the first one I learned because it's the easiest one to play.
Nice,
it's
easy one.
only two fingers, you know. But my dad had this big Martin like dreadnought guitar, and I remember like I couldn't even get my hand over the guitar to like I could like barely get to the strings because it was like so giant, and I was like a child. So then the first real guitar that I got was like this little like Ovation acoustic guitar that was really thin and small so that I could actually play it. But I think, I mean, they're definitely the two biggest reasons I think that I got into it so young. And my dad was coming at it from like kind of classic rock type stuff, you know, like whatever, Neil Young and Jackson Browne and Joni Mitchell and all that type of 70s, whatever, folk stuff. And then my brother was like, you know, a product of like 120 minutes and like 80s alternative music. So he got me into like, you know, REM and Replacements and The Cure and Smiths and all that sort of stuff that was kind of big in the college world in the 80s. And so I would say that those two sort of disparate musical canons was the sort of what made, I think probably still is what sort of makes up, you know, my like accounts for the kind of music I make. You know, obviously along the years I've got influenced by different other things, but yeah, I would say that was like the big starting point. And then also Omaha had like a really kind of cool, it was very small, but it was a cool music community in the sense that you could be like you could be playing like quote unquote folk music, you know, guy acoustic guitars singing, but also be playing on the same bill as, you know, the punk bands or like the hardcore bands or whatever. Like there wasn't enough like infrastructure or just interest to go around. So it's like, if you were making any kind of like left of center music of any stripe, you ended up playing shows with like different, like whatever, a funk band and then like a punk band and then, yeah, like, you know, singer songwriter thing. And so I think that also helped, like, I guess, make me really open to like eclectic ideas, because there was no hard lines between those different styles of music. It was more like there was one like DIY place to play called the Cog Factory and like fit like 100 people. And if you got a show there, you were like over the moon happy, no matter who you were like playing with, you know? So yeah, it was a good way to come up, I guess.
Do you think, I guess, having that exposure to different genres and different bands and not kind of being, I guess, put into a box at such an early stage in that regard also played into your lyric writing? Because I know that one of the main, I guess, highlights for any Bright Eyes fan is your lyric writing. You're very very well spoken. I would say a big fan of prose as well. I think, what was it? Listening to the After the Deluge podcast, which came out earlier this year, I think you were a guest, and there was discussion of putting certain words into songs, trying to get, I think, what was it, in Shell Game, the oscilloscopes.
Oscilloscope, yeah. I always, I always loved words, and I gravitate. It's funny, like the latter part of my life, I've really gravitated towards instrumental music, and I don't really know why. I think it's because it's just so much of everything I've made is like been so focused on words, and I still love words, but I it's like sometimes I don't like want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, there's like, there'll be something going on like musically that's like great, and then I like I understand what someone's singing, and it like takes me out of it, because I don't know, maybe I'm slightly a snob when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I do still, to me, that's, I guess, what I'm not really, I'm not a great singer. I'm not really a great guitar player or piano player. I feel like if there's something that I sort of have to offer, it's more from a songwriting standpoint, like just like the words and the melodies. And most of my songs are pretty simple. But I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying. I guess I do think about words a lot, and I do try to like challenge myself to say things in as, unique, original way as I can. And that's not that I'm like very influenced by lots of lyricists that I think are amazing, but like that's something I do really try my best to bring something like interesting and new to the table.
100%. I would agree with that. I think that is what yourself as a songwriter is very well known for, and whether that be your output has been extremely prolific over the years. We've got Bright Eyes, there's music under your own name and Mystic Valley Band. There was Monsters of Folk. There was Better Oblivion Community Centre. And so it seems like you, regardless of what outlet you have, you do seem to find a way to convey what you are feeling and what you're trying to say. It seems like a little bit of a silly question, and please feel free to decline my question. But while we have you, with being such a prolific songwriter, I guess, is there the possibility that in the next year or so we might see a new Bright Eyes record, a new Better Oblivion, a new Mystic Valley Band record?
Yeah. I don't think I'm under any gag order to not speak about it. No, we're actually very soon we're going to start working on another Bright Eyes record. We have a lot of it like demoed already, and whatever. It's kind of like inside baseball, like. But anyway, we're under contract to our label, like Dead Oceans and Secretly Group, for like another Bright Eyes record, and we're gonna start making it sooner than later, because, like I said, it takes us a while to do it. But I do have a lot of songs kind of demoed, and we're gonna start getting into it. I think we're gonna actually do a little bit of recording even before we get down to do the shows down there, and then we'll see how long it takes. But yeah, we'll keep recording into next year, and that's the current game plan.
That is very exciting. Thank you very much for indulging us and answering that. Can we expect possibly a live debut of one of these new tracks at these Australian shows?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm still trying to make the I still gotta get the list of songs. Actually, thanks for reminding me. I have to get them to the musicians. But yeah, there might be one or two that might be ready to just to throw out there. I can't make any promises, but it'd be fun to do it for sure.
Even the thought of it will take. I'm glad that we've got even that. So thank you for sharing that. In terms of what you just said, getting the list to the musicians that are coming with you, in terms of building a set list after such an incredibly long and varied career, how do you, I guess, pick and choose what you're going to put on a set list after this many albums?
It's funny. We used to, back in the day, we were pretty, we had kind of a system. We were pretty adamant about when we made a record, we went on tour and we basically mostly just played that record and then a few other songs. So the Lifted tour was basically that record plus a couple songs, and same with every record. Digital Ash and Wide Awake were the most sort of striking because the tours were so close together, and at the time people really responded to the Wide Awake record. So we went on tour for that record all over the world, and it was felt like we were fucking Beatles or something, everyone was so excited to see us. And then a couple of months later we're on tour and we're just basically playing the Digital Ash songs, and I think people were trying to get their money back and stuff, and we're but the thing was we weren't really trying to be antagonistic. It was just that it took such different amounts of musicians and different instruments and a different presentation that it would have been really difficult to do all that at once, or at least it felt like that at the time. But lately, even with the last record, it's we did play, I would say maybe a third of the set was from the Down in the Weeds record. But I guess just realizing it's hey, we don't get out there as much as we used to, and people spend their money, they want to come see a show. So we try, I don't know, I guess what I'm saying is we try to mix up the set list more, but it does have to do with what instruments we have available or what the personnel is, and kind of what's going to make the most sense with because every band, the band on every tour, the band's different. So it's kind of starting from scratch when it comes to that. But I think over the years, we've gotten better at balancing old songs, hopefully stuff that people are excited to hear, and then also playing the new music as well as sort of more, I guess, random B-side type songs that we want to play just because it's fun to kind of reach back. There's so many songs that it's cool to, I think on this coming tour where we're coming to see y'all, it's I think it'll be some stuff from the new record, but a lot of stuff from the EPs, the new versions from the EPs, and, just kind of some old, whatever, the old standbys, hopefully. So we're going to try to make it fun. Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be quite a lot of fun, regardless of what tracks we do end up hearing. I know, and this might just be a personal observation, I think over the years, because Wide Awake was such a big record, Digital Ash at that time might not have got its moment in the sun, but I think over the years it has become more beloved and more of a cult classic almost. I know I spoke to Christian about Digital Ash when he was in Australia this year, and so justice for Digital Ash in my mind.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that I think that is something that I like, or I find that records that really stay with me for a lot of years, the first time I hear them, I might not really, it might not, blow me over, like it's like, I think there's something to be said for like records that you have to spend time with that like kind of unfold over time. And just as a fan of music, other people's music, I actually appreciate that quality, because sometimes you'll hear a record that just knocks your socks off right away, but then it's kind of like after a couple months of listening to it, you're like, I don't really need to revisit that one for a while. Like, it's fun, but it's not, you know what I mean? And then there's the ones that kind of like, you got to peel back the layers, and they get, a little better with like repeated listens. So I take that as a compliment, I guess is what I'm saying. It's people don't have to people don't have to love it right out the gates, Yeah,
well, both records do stand up over time. Conor, I didn't realize that we are running out of time, so I very quickly want to ask, is there anything at the moment that you're currently listening to that you want to kind of give a shout out to?
Well, like I said, I've been like weirdly getting more into like instrumental music. Have you heard of this band Bellwitch? They're like, I don't know how to describe them. They're like, it's kind of metal-ish, but like it's almost like very like classical, but not in the sense of like there's strings and things. It's just like they have a record called Mirror Reaper. It's like the whole thing is one track, but it's like an hour and a half. But if you like sit there and listen to it, it's just like, it's really like beautiful. And like, you kind of have to, you got to be like, you got to be ready just to like be there. It's like, there's I guess like a almost trance kind of quality to it, where once you get in the zone, like I listened to, my friend and I drove from California back to Omaha, which is a long drive. And, we listened to it a couple of times on these long drives, like through Utah and like Colorado. And I don't know, that's one that jumps out to me. There's also like this guy Akira Kasamura, who's like a Japanese. He's a piano composer. It's all instrumental. I guess in the, this is like super shorthand, but like in the vein of like an Eric Satie or something like that. Like, just really beautiful, like a lot of like suspended chords. And I forget the name of the album that I have. I got it on vinyl. I like it a lot. I want to say it's called like Afterglow or something like that. But, and like in that same vein, there's like an old American piano player, named, Mary Lou Williams, who, same thing. It's all instrumental piano, but, I don't know. I find myself really enjoying, it's not that I don't still love like rock bands and songwriters, but I find that those kinds of music like puts me in a different, more like, I don't know, like I guess reflective and like peaceful place, because it's like I'm not analyzing songs. I'm not thinking about anything that has anything to do with like stuff that I make. Like I could never make any of that music at all. And that's kind of fun, because it's like, if I listen to stuff that's like more like adjacent to the music that I make, it's a little more like, whatever, like what's this person doing? And that sounds like that. And that sounds like that. And it's, I don't know. It's like, it's not, I guess I don't know. I'm sick. I don't have any interest in the competition or the like who's doing what in like sort of whatever indie rock circles and stuff. It's like, I'm sure there's great stuff happening, but it doesn't really hold my interest the way it maybe used to, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like as we get older, it's that thing of what's mentally stimulates you in it. If you're only listening to indie rock for 20 years, it's kind of, you're treading the same ground. So it's expanding your palette almost.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Conor, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you down there.